welcome to the House of ZK Radio, which is a focused podcast and media channel exploring everything ZK, zero knowledge. Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Alice. I'm a host of House of ZK. As part of an interview for House of ZK's Bitcoin Economy Conference, we have Dr. Redouane here, who is economic lead at Goat Network, joining us today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm wondering, Redouane, if you can first give us like an intro on your story, how you got involved into the Bitcoin space, how you got involved in Web3, while also focusing on academia. And I'm aware that you're currently also a professor at U of T, teaching economics, and then you also have the industry, and finance, okay. Finance. And you also have a focus on the industry side with Bitcoin as well. So I'm wondering how that all came about.
Yeah, I think I just switch it. I'm a professor first that also have. I think that's how it started first. But yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. And thank you again for we have postponed this couple times and finally we make it. I appreciate so much your flexibility and I wish it will not be a disappointment waiting for something for too long and it will not add a lot of value. I hope I can add some value to the people, at least sharing my own experience. And if can somebody learn from it, it's great. I am Redouane Elkamhi. I graduated as an engineer, electrical engineer first. That was in the 97, 98, around that time. As an electrical engineer, I was focusing actually on automation and coding in assembly line. This is going to be handy. The reason I mention it is because it's going to have a relationship also when Bitcoin paper come up and all this stuff. Means that's what I did, and I worked as an engineer for some time. I switched later on to do a PhD in finance. I did my PhD in finance, and I was lucky to find a job as a prof. Usually not very easy. More luck sometimes. Market timing was good. Graduated in 2000. No, I started my first job in Iowa, University of Iowa, as a prof. Then I moved to University of Toronto around 2011, and I'm since then at the University of Toronto I'm a finance department and I'm prof of finance. My relationship to blockchain, as you mentioned, this is why I mentioned the engineering part and coding and cryptography, because what is Bitcoin at the end of the day is an economic model combined with cryptography. And this is really how it turns out to be perfectly handy when I kind of hear about it. And it wasn't actually in the beginning. I heard about it a little bit later, 2013, 2014, with a friend of mine that is still actually working with us at Goat. His name is Eric Wang. That's where we met a long time ago. And know him, and we started discussing. I read the paper, and it's a combination of something that is all about moral hazard, payment, understanding of the economy, not being the whole intermediary finance. Do we need intermediary? You don't need intermediary. And this new system, store of value, all this the thinking combined with technology. And we said, well, that's amazing. That's a best use of technology for something that I teach, which is basically all this, the financial aspect of it. And if you recall, the financial crisis has just passed, and one of the reasons, in fact, one of the first blocks in blockchain was talking about counterparty risk almost, or the idea of financial market, the idea of the financial stability. It means it's perfectly handy for somebody who is an engineer, who was acting in the blockchain, or who was actually doing finance and economics. It means I started suggesting to do a course at U of T. And I'm proud to say that U of T probably had the first course. It was way before MIT. MIT didn't start 2013. It ended up stopping after I designed a syllabus. And there is this, sorry if I'm too long, but this is just to tell people something. When you want to learn something, teach it. That means that the prof doesn't know anything. He just learned a little bit before. That's actually usually what happened. We don't know much. And then we say, well, I want to learn about it. And then what's the best way to learn about it? Well, teach it to someone. Then you force yourself to learn about it. And basically, this is how I started. I started trying to teach it. Unfortunately, we didn't go through the course at that time because of some regulation at U of T. Now it's still offered by another prof. Just recently at the MBA and the other, but in the past it was I'm the first one who established this at the institute at Rotman. It's called the Fin Hub at that time. And In fact, my relationship started from there. Like I started investing in project related to L0s. We did some investment there. I started thinking about the secondary market of Bitcoin, designing some strategies in the secondary market. The market was thin, we're a little bit early at that time. I think this is my start, literally the academic side of it, understanding the academic side of it, and then it becomes a business because it was an interesting opportunity to jump in on this new technology and make money too. And it means this is hopefully clear for everyone that I'm coming to the market by an economist combined with technology.
Yeah, and that's a great way to come in from both
Yeah,
your technical background. You first majored in electrical engineering. You have engineering background, cryptography knowledge as well, and then also the finance background. And I like how you likened Bitcoin to
yeah.
really just being an
Chance.
economic model that's combined or backed by cryptography. And I also like your saying, when you want to learn something, teach it. I feel like when you're forced to explain it to someone else,
It's
you
true.
really have to go back to
100%.
those first principles and
It's true.
really understand the content in order to be able to teach it. So, yeah, I like
100%.
that as well.
100%. When you think you know something, just go teach it to your friend and you realize you don't know anything. And then you start again and then ask yourself, this is usually how. But it's
Mhm.
fascinating. It's an amazing area. I advise everybody to still think about it and work on it. It's an amazing area. Amazing area.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I did want to also ask you about how you saw general Bitcoin space, but then also general Web3 space
Web3.
evolving
Yeah.
over the years. And I know we briefly had this topic of conversation before as well. And I'm wondering if you had any kind of parallels you'd like to draw with how
Uh,
this space has evolved or how you think it'll evolve in the future,
oh yeah,
say with like other parts of technology that we've seen.
I think Web3. When I hear this word Web3, first in my mind wasn't connected only to the blockchain. Let me tell you, in my mind at the beginning, like a long time ago, and I was thinking, I think if anybody in the space they understand the idea of data property, like the property right of your own data and monetizing your own data. We noticed the Web 2 and it was a flourishing experience. We had an amazing 90s. We had a bubble, things crashes, then we had a flash of all these things, and then it turns out to be very good companies that stayed that drive extreme economic growth for everyone. Like technology drive extreme, but you always have this nascent period, like they call it the S shape, like first the adoption shape, or but I also there is a reason for me. I think this is something I thought. It's not like I read anywhere or something because it may not be accurate. I'm just trying to think. There's also another S shape that will drive the first S shape of adoption, which is a number of people coming into the market. First, that are usually the amazing inventors, and then you get people flood into it because they think this is what they're going to make money, even if they're not talented. Those are the people that are going to create the bubble. Because to me, the bubble is not only investors driving prices, is also many people thinking they are entrepreneurs, even if they are not entrepreneurs. And they end up just flooding the market with a lot of ideas that maybe not even useful. And then after that, there is a flash, the market corrects itself, and then we end up with really good talent, really good companies. In Web 2, we've seen the cycle. But one of the things at that time in Web 2, because you asked me to comment on Web 3, to me, it was the idea that people information are being monetized by the Facebook of the world, by other places of the world, and then the individuals are not actually taking advantage of its data. And this is where we started seeing the relationship between the blockchain or the Web3 was a solution to this one problem. There is other problem. I'm just singling out one. At the end, it's not a course that we're going to have. It's just more of the number one, if I ask the principal component to me that Web3 was coming to solve one of these problems, which is your data problem, like yourself first. I'm not talking about other stuff. It exists, like for example, the blockchain, the immutability, the ledgers exist everywhere. You make sure all that is good, is beautiful. But if I have to single one thing, there was an insane amount of data being used, being monetized by big oligopolies, and then the individual wasn't there. And then the individuals was making sure that actually we wanted with Web3 to make something more incentive compatible. We wanted to provide incentive for people to share data. And at the same time, we want it to be fair for people that are actually sharing data without they know, so that they can actually be compensated for whatever they share. It means it can provide better data. It's going to provide better incentive. It's going to provide better incentive compatibility for having clean and better environment with the Web3. This is, I call it the first principal component in Web3. Of course, later on, Web3 become also synonymous to me right now because we didn't have to talk about AI, but one of the problem of Web2 still now is the incentive of creating not just data. I'll ask you, Alice, today, if you're, let's say, a painter or a musician, you're going to spend like 2 years painting something. And the next day, I might just do exactly the same using AI. Now, what that tells you, you don't have no incentive to monetize your own creation because whatever you created, don't even have any time before I duplicate it. Now, the blockchain or the Web3 comes to solve some of the property rights actually that it means that wasn't the reason why it started, but this is one of the problems that the blockchain or the Web3 can solve. Look, there is other 100 things we can mention, but if I single out two things, one is data monetization and data incentive for people, which wasn't there in Web2. Number two is this idea of property right, which is going to provide the incentive for people to still create. Because now if there is no incentive to create with AI being able to duplicate, then you're going to end up having a race to the bottom in Web 2. It means Web 3 is truly an improvement of Web 2 because it solved two of the problems that Web 2 has.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like that kind of macro view that you have,
It's a
and how blockchain itself is not really the solution. It's just a tool that's being
tool
used
to do
to,
it, yeah.
yeah, power this idea of Web3. And as you said, one of the main reasons why we're here today is because, well, first with the data problem issue, how these big corps are monetizing and profiting off of our data. And on the individual level, even though individuals themselves are creating value, say like creating content, they
Realize
themselves
just
don't
one
have
thing,
that
Ali.
incentives.
Realize that I didn't talk about intermediation, counterparty risk, all that stuff. We would come, but I just single out the two most important one for me. But
Yes,
there is
yes,
a lot of
the
other
two main
things.
ones. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And on that property rights as well. And I do like the comparison you made with kind of the cycles that we face for how adoption of different areas of tech are made as well. Like first, there's a high amount of interest, a lot of ideas being made, a lot of adoption, and then a bit of a flushing out phase where the market corrects itself. And really, the like high quality people, high quality companies are the ones who stay.
people.
So yeah, yeah, and definitely see
It's
that
all
in
about
this
people.
space as well. Exactly. Yeah. So thank you for that. And I wanted to also transition a bit onto the goat side.
Hmm.
Curious to hear from your end what you see or how you see goat compared to other Bitcoin layer 2
Okay.
solutions.
Well, first we
And
define what. Oh, sorry, I interrupt you. Go ahead.
oh yeah, no worries. And then on top of that, how you see those economic models for Bitcoin L2s compared to some other layer 2s that we're more
Okay.
familiar with, like for example, those Ethereum layer 2s. Are
Well,
there any lessons that we can
if you
adopt?
don't mind, since we jump in directly from a macro to layer two, let me first explain what an L2 is. I think GOAT is the project that I'm an economic lead. It stands for GOAT. Basically, it's a Bitcoin layer two, but this layer two things is misused a lot. I want to first explain it. I think the audience know what I assume they will know what is Bitcoin, what is Ethereum, and let's call those is like the foundation layer. And everybody know there is a consensus for Bitcoin. It's called proof of work, and they know the cost of that proof of work. They know the limitation. No, this is the wrong word. I would call it the genius of Bitcoin rather than the limitation of Bitcoin, because when people say, well, the limitation is only 4 MB and you cannot store a lot of information, I will still call it the genius of Bitcoin is to have very low so that you minimize attacks. There are reasons why it's actually very simple. It's very simple. It's not you cannot code any sophisticated things in it because it's not Turing complete. Oh, that's a genius of it. Not the like I have a different view to call those limitations because when we're going to talk about L2, some people will say, well, now that comes to basically L2 is coming to solve some of the limitations of Bitcoin. I call it no. Bitcoin is what it's supposed to be. If you want something to be pure, to be prone to not prone to hacking, not prone to this, but you make it as simple as possible. And in fact, anybody who is in the field for a long time Now that there is some functionalities in Bitcoin that has been shut down by Satoshi himself. It's not like it wasn't available. It was available and it was shut down. It means there is reasons of the creators and the inventors to basically do it as simple as it is. It means we have all this layer of Bitcoin, and that layer of Bitcoin have operated for some time. And as we know, we saw the Ethereum, there's a lot of contracts can be written on it. There's a lot of things that can be done on it. And at some point now, we have adoption of Bitcoin. Let's say this is the king. Everybody adopted, majority of people adopted, institution adopted, sovereign adopted. Let's call it there is a really good adoption rate and it's still here to continue. Well, now you ask yourself a question. You have already established what we call the network effect. And money is only important if people believe in it. We established finally the network effect. It would not have been easy if it was extremely complicated. Because it was simple, it was possible in less than 10 years or 15 to establish, because this is magical. Like people are living the moment and they think it takes time. I think if you read history, it took 1,000 years for gold to become what it is. Like we live in a metaverse. Actually, it took, because of the genius of simplicity, adoption happened extremely fast. I still call it extremely fast because people now, and you see, is not. It used to be just 5 years ago people related to scamming, or 7 years ago. No, nobody says that anymore. Nobody talk about dark web and all that things. People talk about it as a store of value. Sorry, it's too long because we had to talk about this part. Like we jump in from macro to now this is Bitcoin. Well, you have this Bitcoin, you have it established, you have people. Well, okay. Do you want to just limit yourself to the store of value as gold? And in that case, it's exactly gold. Or you want to say, well, wait a second, this is called digital gold. And if it's called digital gold, can I do something with that digital nature of it? That's the question mark. And if you want to do something digital on it, how can I do it? That's question number one. Question number two is, if it's digital, maybe it allow me to make some returns. Because gold, if you store it, you basically have no yield because it's a non-yielding asset. You just it's commodity, you put it somewhere and you wait for it, the price appreciation. Now, because Bitcoin is digital, it will allow us to maybe still keep the Bitcoin as it is. Don't change it, because if you change it, you lose the network effect. If you now come up and say, I'm going to change Bitcoin, anybody who believes in Bitcoin might not believe in it because they already believe in it the way it is. Then you have to solve this dilemma. You wanted to generate returns because you can. You cannot do it with gold because it wasn't digital. Now you can do it, but you don't want to change Bitcoin. Because if you change Bitcoin, you lose the network effect. And if you lose the network effect, you lose the foundation. This is the essence of, could we do something on the top of Bitcoin? And if we do something on the top of Bitcoin, here you have many, many question marks. You have people doing side chains, you have people doing L2s, you have people do, and it turns out to be anything built on Bitcoin. Loosely, people start calling this is a layer two. Like you're in a building, you have the level one, which is the floor, and then you build something on the top. What is that something on the top allow you to do? It allows you to do, let's say, BTC-Fi, let's say Bitcoin finance, like we do in Ethereum. It will allow you to generate yield at the end of the day. This is GOAT. For example, if you ask me about GOAT, what's the purpose number one of GOAT existence? GOAT existence is to improve on Bitcoin. Okay, we wanted to make Bitcoin network better. This is a little bit nuanced question. I want to make it better because I want to make Bitcoin generate in physical yield. But at the same time, by doing that, I'm paying the miners. Because what makes Bitcoin solid? Bitcoin solid if the miners are there. If we have few miners, there is no Bitcoin stability. I want the Bitcoin miners to get paid. Well, how do I get them paid? If I do a side chain somewhere and I never report anything to Bitcoin, the Bitcoiners are not getting paid. And that's what happened in Ethereum. I think you asked me because you asked me to comment also on Ethereum, but we will comment on this alone. It means in Bitcoin society, for Bitcoin to stay solid, the solidity of Bitcoin has to become, it's almost like one feeding on the other. The L2s has to be designed to become truly an L2 for Bitcoin. They have to inherit the security of Bitcoin. And to inherit the security of Bitcoin, it will be an incentive compatibility between L2 and L1, because the L2, for it to be secure, they have to report to L1, and to report to L1, they need to pay L1. It means if you real, this is what the essence of GOAT. It means in two sentences, what is GOAT? It's a project with the aim to generate yield in Bitcoin for the community. And in doing so, they are inheriting, no, they are improving on Bitcoin network by inheriting the security. And that inheritance of security comes at a cost. And the cost goes to the miners, which actually provides security to the Bitcoin network. It means it's an incentive compatible. Now, if you ask me, what if you are a sidechain in the corner? You still can take Bitcoin, move it somewhere, not secure. That doesn't help Bitcoin at all. And the business model is not sustainable. You can still generate yield because you just have to change your Bitcoin to some wrapped version somewhere, and then that wrapped version somewhere is making returns. But in doing so, you're not inheriting Bitcoin security. And what we claim at GOAT, I think to come back to GOAT, what we wanted to achieve something very basic. We want you, if you have one Bitcoin, you want to generate some return in Bitcoin, not in cuckoo coins. If you want to generate something in Bitcoin and you want to generate it using the minimum risk taken because you want to have a security by Bitcoin, you want to inherit, and this is the most misused term in the profession. Everyone out there comes and say, I inherit Bitcoin security. I inherit Bitcoin security. At some point, I put an Excel file that have over 132. I remember because I stopped after 132. Because every day I wake up, I found somebody call itself L2, 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 L2. And one of the most misused is, oh, we inherit Bitcoin security. How? Just because you call yourself Bitcoin L2, you become inheriting Bitcoin security? It means you are generating return in Bitcoin, but you are generating it while you feel insecure about your money because you're inheriting truly the Bitcoin security. Anyway, this is a longer answer. Just to very summarize, we have to bring it what is an L2, why we see many L2s, and what is GOAT and what's the mission of GOAT. That's what I try to address in this long answer.
Got it. Yes. And I do like how you mention the reasoning also for having these L2s as well. It's not just for the sake of creating one, but you do mention that Bitcoin and being as simple as possible, adoption happened relatively quickly. But if we change some parts of Bitcoin itself, then it loses its network effect. And then
Yeah,
from there, adoption is not as great. And for Bitcoin to be solid, it must have this idea of security, inheritance, compatibility. And for Go itself, for a user, they're able to generate yield for Bitcoin. And then also Go itself is able to improve on Bitcoin itself by inheriting the security. So I hope that
actually, I had
kind
a
of
joke. This is
summarizes
perfect.
that.
This is exactly what I meant. There's a joke that I told to somebody in the plane, yeah, 2 days ago, and was actually flying from Hong Kong to Taiwan first. Somebody was discussing with him. I said, you know what, for GOAT, I think because I was in a plane, I was thinking about economy class, business class, like elite. I was telling to someone, you know what? I think what the miners at Bitcoin should do, the miners of Bitcoin should give status to the L2s. You are inheriting security because you're going to end up paying them. You are a premium status. But if you're a side chain, you are actually not a premium status because you're doing your thing. You're basically eating my cake. I'm a miner. You're eating on my cake. People are using you there, but you're not paying me anything. It means to you, it's almost like the miner communities in Bitcoin has to come up with a rating system, and they have to come up with, do you qualify to be a gold member or to platinum member? And I think we qualify as GOAT to be the platinum member because we are inheriting Bitcoin security at a serious cost. We are doing a ZK rollup. We can discuss it in details. And that's one of the solutions that actually tie in the plumb into Bitcoin. And then another person, I'm not going to name anybody, we're doing just a side chain that is not inheriting anything. Well, the miners are not giving you now the premium. And what does that premium means? Means that if we are congested at some point in Bitcoin, the gold members need to have an easy access, but the others will not have an easy access because we're not eating their cake. We're basically helping the miners. It means I'm imagining in my mind a model for which for the miners to exist. Remember, the miner is going to have a problem soon because of the subsidy versus the transaction cost. The subsidy right now is good, but after halving, subsidy is getting lower. If the price is not going in high, they need transaction to survive. Who's going to give them transaction? They're going to give them transactions, the L2 that are truly L2s. The sidechain are not given. It means I qualify to say I'm a gold member for the miners. You have to treat me well in good times and bad times. That's a joke. That's an innovation. I don't know if it will happen or not, but I think this is a call for all the miners who may listen to this. Miners, you need to think smart 5 years later. Who you should do business with at some point and at what rate those businesses you need to subsidize implicitly, but make them having a quick access during congestion time. That's a between bracket.
Yes, good advice for miners. Be
Minus.
sure to see which
That
is
is
the
good for us too,
true
by the
L2.
way.
Yes, good for everyone in this
Yeah.
case. And like in addition to miners, there's other participants in GOAT as well. There's like general holders, and then there's sequence operators, and I know that GOAT has a decentralized sequencer model as well. Maybe we can speak a bit
Mm-hmm.
about that.
Well,
Ecosystem partners, there's builders on GOAT, investors as well. So how are all of these participants
mm-hmm.
incentivized? Is there a particular model that GOAT
Yeah, there is.
follows?
Well, there is. I think Goat's probably the one of the few teams that have an economic lead. It means we care about economics, we care about incentives. But I think I didn't do a good job yet at describing Goat so that people will just talk a little bit general. But I think just for people who's listening, there is one thing unique in Goat is and I bring it up again from this. I'm just going to ask a question to the audience or anybody who's going to listen to this. If you claim that you inherit Bitcoin security, uh, number one, the GOAT business model is to generate yield in Bitcoin for people. Let's just get that. That's the only thing people need to know. If you're not technical, you need to know one thing. You want to make money. That money is related to what risk you're going to take. You're going to take much less risk. Come to us, you get some return. You want to take a little bit more risk, you're going to make a higher return. And you're going to be very transparent to what risk you take. It means it's a risk adjusted return, different profile, earn different returns. Okay? That's out the bed. That's the only thing you need to know. Now, if you're a little bit careful about, well, how do they actually get that security out there? I question for those people. Bitcoin is decentralized, correct? Thumbs up, correct. Could you imagine me being centralized and I tell you I inherit Bitcoin security? Can you just logically imagine a second floor that is centralized and a first floor completely decentralized? And you're telling me that the second floor is inheriting the first floor? You see, I didn't talk anything about ZK or no Z. Just the concept of decentralization cannot be inherited and automatically become decent. Like having many parents and you end up having one kid. Well, how come? Like I think you may imagine the second floor having more decentralization even than the first, but that's too extreme. It means number one thing people I want those people to think is means we are not doing decentralized sequences because we just love them. Oh, we're in love with decentralized because we're a team that I didn't talk about Metis in the past, that I was a consultant. Oh, no, we know how to do it there. Let's just copy paste and do it here. That's not the point. The point, if you want to be serious about security and one point of failure, and more than that, just not just like the one point of failure that people talk about. Like there are other reasons that decentralizing may help you a lot, which we're going to talk, maybe we're going to have a chance or not, which is the open market and all that stuff. But for the very simple thinking, GOAT establish its framework on the idea that you don't have a central party, but you have decentralized parties, decentralized agents. And I'm refraining from calling them sequencer because sequencing is only one job. Those guys have many jobs than sequencing. Sequencing is only like you have transaction coming in, and those sequencers basically sequence which one go first, which one batch. But when you have an L2, there is more job that those agents are doing. Which one is actually going to do they're going to establish the block? Which one going to validate? Which one going to speak to L1? Let's call them agents, and we have decentralized agents or decentralized operators. That is a must to have. Now, let me tell you something. For the list of 132 L2s, I'm not aware more than 2 or 3 that have decentralization. That's out of the bet. We didn't even talk about the consensus and what do we do in the consensus. We just said first, this is it's almost like a hardware. The operators having one versus having many. It means in GOAT, we approach this by having decentralization. And the way we incentivize, because you mentioned the incentive of these, those are the ones that are going to create a block in L2. It means, and it's an economic model. Let's call it as a proof of stake on the top of a proof of work. Many sequencers exist, and I'm using your term rather than using agent. Many sequencers exist. You, Alice, today comes to GOAT. You want to make some money. You're going to say, you know what? I'm going to stake in operator 1 instead of operator 3. Many of you come into operator 1. Let's say operator 1 end up having 80% of the money. It means 80% of the time operator 1, or that 80 is wrong. Let's say do 30, because there's some technical things why it's wrong, because we shouldn't have more than 30% for each one and all that. But let's just say 30%. It means 30% of the chance your operator is going to be chosen to basically take that transaction, to create the block, to get earning some token out of that creation, and then basically report in at some point to the L1 what you actually do in an L2. It means, in a nutshell, GOAT is a decentralized environment for which it operates as a proof of stake. It means we have a proof of stake consensus on the top of a proof of work, which is Bitcoin. That's why I call it, in my analogy, you have a safe on the middle of a safe. See, when you go to a hotel, you have a safe. Imagine you open a safe, and then there is another safe inside. Your first safe is you layer an L2, which is a proof of stake. After some time, you're going to report everything to Bitcoin. And when you report everything to Bitcoin, it's almost like you enter the information into another safe. It means it's an embedded safe within a safe. And that's what GOAT network is. You create a security in L2 based on proof of stake, and then that proof of stake report to Bitcoin at a certain frequency. We can talk about technicalities, and then how do we report in it, and what ZK we're going to write about it, zero knowledge proof rather than reporting the data. Those become just technicalities we can solve, but the big picture is you're trying to do things in L2 to create an environment that people can still have a possibility to have an information embedded there. And then at some point, if you don't report to L1 at a certain frequency, then you're really not inheriting Bitcoin security. It means you need both. I hope but again, I don't want to lose remember I said the big picture everybody needs to know. Forget about all this. Just focus on, you want to make money. You want to take risk-adjusted return. You come into GOAT. You choose what type of risk profile you are, and the type of risk profile you are, you can choose what segment of return you're going to choose. And we have like 4. If you go to our website, you'll see 4. There is one we call, let's say, safe box. I forgot the names, but there are 4 categories of heterogeneity for making money. To go to the details is what I was talking about, so that we can explain to people. Don't get fooled by the name L2. Don't get fooled by, I'm just a chain that does before. No, think of decentralization and think of the frequency you report to L2, to L1, sorry. At what frequency and how do you report? What bridge you have? It means the decentralization, the bridge, and the frequency. 3 things. And what you report in. Sorry, too long again.
Got it.
But remember, I'm a prof. We're famous to speak too much.
Yes, but at the same
Sometimes I
time,
hope it's clear. I don't know.
it
I
is
wish it's
clear,
clear.
and that's yeah, that's why professors coming onto this podcast is very good because part of this is educational as well. So yeah, it's really great. And also your analogy, kind of the embedded safe in a safe, I think is really great as
Hopefully.
well. How your POS layer is on top of the proof of work, and then there's kind of
Exactly.
that extra component there. And I do like how Goat offers different types of risk profiles or different types of options that users can choose depending on the risk they're willing to take.
To take
So it's good that there's that flexibility there
a
as
good
well. And
summary.
it's also
Thank
great
you.
to hear that Goat has made each layer in-house. So there's a decentralized sequencer layer. There's also like the proving layer that's also in-house. So it seems like each part of its layer was really made in-house, and I think that
And
that's a great component as well.
this is
And
an important component actually, especially for the blockchain now. I think if you want to summarize it to three, sorry to just like for people instead of being too long, the bridge is now we adopt the BitVM 2. We are still working on the BitVM 3. The BitVM 2 is not like it's the implementation is in house, but the logic and the thinking. There's a paper by Linus by other people that actually come up with this. I don't want to give the idea that we actually do everything in house, which is actually not optimal sometimes. Because why you're reinventing the wheel if there is a great technology? I think what the word when I talk to our CTO, we trying to be good engineers, not a university. We are not trying to do research for free and send it to the whole world. We're making sure to know exactly what has been written. And if tomorrow you come to me and say BitVM2 is not working, but I don't know, let's call it another name, whatever, uh, whatever, DDSLT, whatever, something like that. Yeah, why not? Let's try that. We are a team that is trying to choose whatever the best exists and do it. I think there's a big value of being nimble, on being adaptive when it comes to choosing technology at this stage, because nothing is perfectly established. What is our core value? Be secure. Means if don't be married to one technology, choose the best working out there. And that's, I think, where I think we're doing well, because for now, if you look at the BitVM community, Goat is part of the alliance of BitVM. There are 6 or 7 there. We are one of them. And that's it means we are knowing exactly what is happening, and we did our own implementation. If you think of what is actually written, which is the ZK, we are one of the best in the world, like the team that is actually doing the zero knowledge, which basically one of the best in the world. I think there is risk zero and SP, and our audit shows that we're better in some aspect than SP, we're better in some aspect than risk zero. It means we are compared. This is actually some of the core competencies. And decentralization is something that we operated in the past in Metis, in the project that the CEO had done before. And let's call it, we took 3 or 4 years of learning before we do it here, because now it's become something that we learned so much in the past and we leverage it. It means we are a team that is adaptive. Majority of the things we do in-house because we think we have the capabilities to adapt quickly later if you learn the basics. And some stuff, if there is a great technology, we have no problem. Just give it to me. We'll do it. Because we don't want to sell technology only. We want to be given the best risk-adjusted return for people. And to give the best risk-adjusted people, you need to be monitoring the best securities out there, because that's the cost for our technology. When you go to the bank, Alice, you ask the bank, what is your server? You don't ask them what is the server. Oh, do you have this server or you have that server? No, you just want to, this is where you deposit your money, you want to make some return. You don't really, but if you want to make money, you just look at what is the risk of your money and have you compensated for the risk. If you take 10% vol, you require a certain return. If you take 20% vol, and you need to have a good assessment of that risk. We want to have a really good assessment, and we're going to make sure to minimize it given the current technology. Because I just want to give the impression we are doing everything in-house, because it's not actually the purpose of what we do. If we can, great. If we can be better somewhere else, we do it.
And I think that ties back to kind of the previous points that we were talking about, how technology at the end of the day is just a tool to be used. It's
Yeah,
not really the main focus of of these projects, like for Goat specifically, main priority of Goat is getting the best risk-adjusted return for its
For
users,
people.
for its
Yeah.
people. And whether that can be made in-house or whether another type of existing technology can be adopted, it's really just like an engineering choice to be made based on what's suitable at the moment. And
Perfect.
it's great that you mentioned there's that adaptability and there's that flexibility in case perhaps like a better solution comes. And I think you also mentioned that, right? Like even for solutions, even say the BitVM paradigm, there's still some things that are not like perfect about it, but
Yeah.
it is suitable to be
In fact,
adapted at the
in
moment.
fact, a perfect example. In fact, we implemented the BitVM 2, our own version. We have changed many things in it. And we actually wrote a paper on it. Like we changed the economic incentive of the operator. We call something the universal operator because we had the reason to do that. And we moved some part of it to L2, some parts stay in L1, completely new. Then we heard in a conference BitVM 3, and we are part of the alliance now. We start working on BitVM 3. Then we realized there's some hiccup. We went back to BitVM 2. Now we finish it in BitVM 2. In the meantime, there is one or two on our team who's actually reading about other things that exist. It means truly, I want to just focus on this the most. We are not people that would be like, that's it, BitVM doesn't work, then we get screwed. No, we are going to push the boundaries of implementation of technologies. And if we are having ability to do research, great, I'm a research. But if something exists that is good, we jump on it. No problem. It is important for us.
Yeah,
Because I
absolutely.
think,
That
Alice,
flexibility.
I think truly the best technology is not even there yet. Because if you're a little older, like I'm old, but not just little, you see things dramatically change over 2, 3 years in different industries. Like the worst thing to do is to be too much tied to one thing. Just ask you, have you ever imagined a chat GPT 2 years ago? Just imagine 2 years ago or before ChatGPT, DeepSeek. Now you got like tons of things that you can do with AI. Have you ever thought it's going to be so quick? No. Things happen like boom. If you're just stuck to one technology, you die. You need to be able to quickly switch and you need to allocate resources for that. And that's a good economic model. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, great piece of advice because at the end of the day, I mean, technology is just like an evolution. You're not from the get-go going to get that kind of
Yeah.
perfect or optimized solution that you see. It takes years of innovation, of discovery, of creating in order to get to that point. So yeah, it's great. It's great to mention about that adaptability that the GOAT team really adopts. And yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate you for mentioning that point. And then I also wanted to ask you some more details about for goat's yield generation approach. That
Mhm.
strategy is not just applied to Bitcoin, but also to other people's coins, like with Doge, for example. So I'm curious to hear from your end the reasoning behind Goat applying this yield
Okay.
generation strategy to
To
these other
others.
kinds of people coins and how this like proof of stake multi-coin approach is really beneficial in this case.
Okay. I think there's a twofold to your question. Number one, the yield generation, just so that for people to know how do they generate yield, you become, if you are a Bitcoin holder, and I'm going to move to Doge in a second. If you're a Bitcoin holder, you have different approach. Let's stick to one. You have different approach. One, it could be in your custodian, still in one. Nobody can touch it. You don't even move it to L2 and you can still make money. But let's just talk about the one we really wanted. Because to me personally, success of GOAT should be measured of how many people believe that GOAT is secure and how many people will move their Bitcoin to the L2s. If everybody want to just stay in L1, then we are not achieving that we are really secure network. It means this is my long-term thinking. If the success of a network is how many people believe you come to them. Now, how do you make money? You come in and you become what? You share the operating revenue. If you're doing a company, just like one-on-one, economic one-on-one or finance one-on-one, you become, you basically want to share the revenue, what they make. Who make? Well, we have many, many agents, sequencers. You choose one of them. Alice, you operate a sequencer, and it turns out to be that Alice was generous, was given 99% of whatever she make to the people that stake. She's not taking a lot of fees. oh, you're more generous than the other person. You see, this is the competition I was talking about before. If you have one centralized entity, they may decide whatever they want. That's called monopoly. If you have oligopoly and many sequencers, they compete on customers. Who are the customers? The people who want to generate in yield. You come to me, you deposit. I come deposit some, or I stake some bitcoins with you. And because you're there to validate, to create blocks, you get paid by the transaction as a revenue because people are coming, users come, they pay some transactions. Those transactions are in what? Are in BTC. And that BTC is going to be channeling to you, which you're going to share with the people. It means the yield is in BTC plus it's BTC plus because you will actually create a block. If you create a block, I will still pay you with GOAT token. It means your payment in yield has BTC and has GOAT. It means now you understand that if you have BTC holders and you want to move to make some money in L2 in GOAT, you're going to choose one of the sequencers and you're going to share the revenue of that sequencer. And if you're not happy with that sequencer, you can move your money to another sequencer. If you're not happy with that one, you move your money to another. And because this competition exists, you generate the highest possible return that is available from the transaction that paid to GOAT. Good? Now, we thought about this. We said, I'm actually giving you even how we thought about it. The idea was, it means the more transaction, of course, the more return. Well, how do I get more transaction? I need to get more people. Actually, I know it looks upside down, but Doge community, it's a big community. It's a long-term community, it's a decentralized community. It's not like there's one leader or two leaders that define the community. It's more to us was more if we can attract the users to come by generating yield, that could be a double benefit. They can come to generate yield, but by coming to us, they can also use our platform for different other products that we have. It could be because the Doge community didn't have anything to generate yield. It means the thought process was, I want transaction, I want users, then because I want users, I need to incentivize the users. How to incentivize the users? I need to allow them to make some money. Now it becomes a question mark. How do you do it? This is where we invented the idea of multi-coin stake. You cannot just stake Bitcoin, you can stake also Dogecoin. It means the Doge community can stake, the Bitcoin community can stake, and what do they share? They share the revenue of the network, which is in BTC, plus anytime they create a block, they get GOAT. It means now there is yield, there is multi-staking, multi-coin staking, which actually provide this benefit to us with users, benefit to them to generate yield. But the technology underneath is multi-coin staking. Hopefully it's clear.
Got it. Yeah. And I really like how Go expands to these other communities as well. And it's not just to, say, one target audience, which is, say, just Bitcoin holders, but also embracing these other like decentralized people's coins as well. And in being able to tap to those communities, as you say, there's kind of like good effects on both ends. For them, they're able to generate yield, get those returns, and then from Goat's end, able to get more people to join. So it goes both ways. And just like as a last question before we close today's session, wanted to hear from your end, like
it's
from
already 1 hour.
any.
Oh, cool. I
Yes,
didn't
yes,
even, the
it's
time went fast. I didn't realize
it
that.
did go very fast. Yes, good conversations go
I hope.
fast. For any kinds of people in the audience who
Yeah.
hold some Bitcoin and want to learn more, want to get involved with Goat, what kind of advice do you have for them? Or any kinds of
Okay.
next
Well, the
steps
advice,
you suggest they
well,
approach
I
with?
actually really suggest first this idea of anytime you want to use your money, just ask about what risk-adjusted return you're making. Like number one, I'm even not even mentioning GOAT first. I just said, look, do your due diligence. You are making money because you're taking some sort of risk. Just know what risk you're making, because this is the biggest problem in the industry is is not clear, no clarity about really what it means. We gave the example of L2s. The problem L2s had so much trouble, is because everybody used the same name. And then because everybody used the same name, even if they are not, there is no standard. Now I'm asking the community to check what is inherited Bitcoin security means. What is decentralization means. I know it's basic, but you're going to realize 147 of the L2s are not decentralized at all, at all, at all. And then, we inherit Bitcoin security, but how? Like, that's what I'm asking the community who are Bitcoin, and they want to generate yield. If they want to generate yield, to make sure that you're basically being compensated for the risk you take. One. And I claim at GOAT, you have a choice that is transparent for whatever risk you take in, what's return expectation you get, which is tied to the revenue of the system, but also tied also to the risk you take. If you take zero risk, I give you a fixed return. It's not even tied to the number of transactions because I'm just using you for one liquidity provider or something. Okay? It means that's advice number one. Your due diligence is so important where to invest, including GOAT, and that's one thing. The second thing I think is the idea that many people say, well, me, I'm not putting Bitcoin anywhere. Bitcoin going to go to 1 million, which I believe too, by the way. I can tell you my predictions if you're interested. But my predictions is not that important more than they are when you do a portfolio allocation, let's say even in dollars. I'm not asking people to come and put all their money to generate yield. You, as any finance person, will tell you, make sure you diversify. Take some of your Bitcoin if you want to. You can generate some yield with it while you're learning what's going on. And then maybe the 98% or 95% of your Bitcoin, just keep it. If you believe it's going to 1 million or 2 million or 3 million, I understand. If you're a user who has a lot of money and say, look, what's a 10% interest rate? Me taking risk with 10% doesn't matter because next year the Bitcoin might double. Because now what you're doing, you're saying the next year it's going to be 100% returns by just keeping it in my wallet. Do they really want me to take risk to make 5% or 10%? It makes no sense for them. They will say, I prefer not to make that 5 or 10, just keep it and don't actually touch it. I'm asking these people two things. Number one, there is an environment for which you don't touch it and still make 2 or 3. There is. And it's still in your custodian who actually, does it exist? Go to GOAT and check it. Second, if you want to take some risk, I'm not asking you to put all your money to take that risk. Just put 5% of that money and generate a double-digit returns. It means advice number two, do a portfolio optimization to your own money. First, do your diligence to take the risk and be compensated for the risk. Second, do your portfolio allocation. We're not binary. We're not saying invest all or don't invest anything. Invest some of the money. And that's the two things I'm telling to people. Don't just be idle, passive, making nothing out of because that becomes then what's the whole point of Bitcoin? Becoming like gold. And third, which is a comment to the community, especially the miners, their sustainability hinges on the sustainability of L2s. We don't want to be like Ethereum. What happened to Ethereum, which is drastic, they're trying to change it, which is basically the L2s have eaten the cake of the L1. And that was a problem. We wanted an incentive compatibility between the L2, the true L2s, and the L1. And this is a call to the miners in the world and the foundations in the world to be serious about refining what defines itself as an L2 or not, because that's going to have an important implication for the number of transactions that needs to be written on Bitcoin and the number of things to be done on Bitcoin, which means the miner transaction going forward. We need to have enough transactions for them at a reasonable cost that make both the L2 and the L1 sustainable for long term. These are my advice. Two to the people, two financial advice, and one just a call probably to the miners. So I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. First, having your due diligence, looking into your optimization of your portfolio, diversify, and then also, yeah, for these miners, really even looking at the incentive compatibility between those true L2s and the underlying L1, which is what Go is trying to do. Just having that in mind. So thank you so much, Redouane, for all the insights.
Thank
I really
you,
liked
Ryan.
your macro perspective, and then also
It's
honing in on
and
some
I'm
of
sorry
the
if it's too
details
much
as well.
academic. I'm sorry if it's too much academic-y, because sometimes people want to talk about the gambling tools and the toys we have and this application and that application. We have other people that are very good at that in my team and in our team. I think it's very good to have those guys on the call too, because those can speak about the environment, what users can do, what stuff can do. That part I will be boring at it, because I think I'm more interested into the economic part of it, the yield part of it, and the incentive compatibilities between our ZK rollup and what is happening in L1. But I want to be mindful that we have not talked at all about the product, the environment, the experience we learned from Metis to leverage it in Goat and all the partners we have. I advise everybody to go to our website, to contact people that are more in this. They can contact me and I can direct them to the people that are working on the growth side. And because I will not give it a fair assessment because they know better than me.
Yeah, and there's other resources out there that will talk more
Yeah.
about products, but this episode, for anyone listening to the audience, is more
Cool.
about the why.
Cool.
So I think Redouane did a very good job
I
explaining
hope.
that, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Alice. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.